1,500. That is the staggering number of earthquakes that strike Japan every single year. Seriously, think about that for a second. When you add in a history marked by devastating natural disasters, severe economic collapses, and even the tragedy of nuclear bombings, you're looking at a region that has faced an almost unimaginable amount of destruction. Okay, let's dive into this, because when you look at that number, you'd absolutely expect a nation constantly struggling just to survive.
But here's the paradox, right? How on earth did a nation facing constant, cyclical devastation rise up to become a top 5 global economy? And hey, it's not just about the money either. Japan boasts some of the healthiest, longest-living people on the entire planet, right alongside top-notch discipline and highly advanced technology. It wasn't because they had vast natural resources or some perfect system just handed to them on a silver platter. The real secret? It lies in something much, much deeper. An unbreakable mindset. Because without a rock-solid mindset, any rebuilt buildings would just fall right back down.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore the 7 ancient Japanese principles that literally forge this unbreakable mindset. We're talking about the exact same philosophies that historically turned ordinary citizens into incredibly focused, disciplined warriors. And no, these aren't just historical footnotes. They are a super practical system for our modern lives. If you understand and apply these principles, you'll move from comfort to discipline, from confusion to absolute clarity, and ultimately, you'll put yourself ahead of 97% of the population. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the unbreakable mindset. Second, purpose and excellence. Third, embracing the uncontrollable. Fourth, the power of small steps. And fifth, decluttering yourself. Let's jump right in.
Section 1. The unbreakable Japanese mindset, the real foundation of discipline.
You know, building a truly strong mindset absolutely has to start with conquering our modern, deep-seated desire for constant, uninterrupted comfort. And this brilliantly illustrates our very first principle, Shugyo. Shugyo literally translates to ritual suffering and the deliberate practice of discipline. Historically, you might see monks doing these incredibly physically challenging feats, pulling heavy carts by their necks or punching trees thousands of times to forge iron fists. But perhaps the most vivid example? Monks sitting dead still beneath freezing waterfalls in the dead of winter, trembling to their core, yet sitting completely unmoving. Why do they do it? Well, it's not mindless torture. It's a training method purposely designed to break you down internally so you can rebuild yourself stronger. Now compare that to our modern habits. The second we feel a little warm, we urgently blast the AC. A brief moment of boredom, we're instantly endlessly scrolling on our phones like zombies. A slight hunger pang, we immediately open an app and order food online. It's kind of comical how quickly we run from the slightest discomfort, but Shugyo teaches us that leaning into that discomfort is exactly what makes us strong.
There's this ancient text, the Hagakure, and it states, "The way of the samurai is found in death." Now don't worry, this doesn't mean literal physical death. It really means killing the comfort-loving, weak version of yourself. And the absolute best way to kill that comfort is through discipline. Think about Miyamoto Musashi. He won over 60 duels, right? But he famously practiced calligraphy because getting the perfect brushstroke required the exact same boring, tiring discipline as a perfect sword strike. But hey, there is a catch here. Discipline without direction, that's just suffering. You need a real reason for the fire of your discipline.
Which brings us to Section 2. Purpose and relentless excellence, or in other words, the execution.
If Shugyo is the fire, you absolutely need a compass to guide that execution so you don't just burn out. And that compass, that's your Ikigai. Ikigai is your deep-seated purpose. It's your very specific reason for waking up with genuine energy every single morning. It basically turns routine into ritual and pain into progress. Consider Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who was the world's longest-serving physician. This guy worked enthusiastically well past the age of 100. When people asked why he didn't just retire and relax, he'd smile and say he still had so much to give to the world. That right there was his Ikigai. And science even backs this up. Areas in Japan where Ikigai is heavily practiced boast incredible life expectancies. So the really crucial point here is that you need to find your own. Because the data shows that a whopping 92% of people drop their goals simply because they lack this deeper, guiding purpose.
But here's the thing. Purpose alone just isn't enough to achieve greatness. While Ikigai gives you your why, our next principle, Kodawari, gives you your how. Kodawari is the relentless pursuit of excellence, even in the smallest, seemingly insignificant details. It's all about doing things beautifully and thoroughly, whether someone is watching you or not.
Let's see how this actually builds in the real world with a true masterclass in Kodawari Jiro Ono. He's a sushi master,
well over 90 years old, who has been doing the exact same job every single day for decades with pure, unadulterated excellence. We're talking about getting the exact perfect temperature of the rice, making the absolute perfect cut of the fish, perfectly aligning the plate. This obsessive dedication earned him 3 Michelin stars and incredibly high praise from world leaders like Barack Obama. When you apply Kodawari to your own life, whether that's leveraging new tools, mastering your craft, or just really paying attention to the fine details of your work, you instantly surpass the 86% of people who are just coasting along on autopilot.
Moving on to Section 3, Embracing the Uncontrollable. The obstacles.
So, okay, you have your discipline, your purpose, and your drive for excellence. But what happens when you give 110% and things still go horribly wrong? Well, this brings us to Shikata Gane. This philosophy is all about surrendering to emotional clarity by radically accepting what is completely out of your control. Think back to when the devastating 2011 tsunami hit Japan, wiping out entire towns and displacing families. The cameras didn't capture people breaking down into useless outrage or throwing fits. Instead, they captured citizens calmly and methodically cleaning up the massive debris of their destroyed towns. The phrase on their lips was Shikata Gane. It basically means letting go of the stress over the uncontrollable so you can focus 100% of your energy on the things you actually can rebuild. So next time you're stuck in traffic or face a sudden setback at work, don't waste your energy raging. Accept it, save your energy, and keep moving forward.
And as you start to accept life's uncontrollables, you'll probably start to notice flaws everywhere. Enter wabi-sabi. This is the practice of finding genuine beauty and value in imperfection itself. The absolute perfect visual for this is kintsugi. It's this incredible Japanese art of repairing broken pottery using lacquer mixed with powdered gold or silver. Instead of trying to hide the cracks and pretend the bowl was never broken in the first place, kintsugi actually highlights the flaws. It makes the piece even more beautiful and unique precisely because it has been broken.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates a huge trap of the modern mindset. We are completely obsessed with perfectionism, aren't we? We want our projects, our presentations, and our work to be absolutely flawless before we even think about launching them. It's wild, but research shows this exact modern perfectionism causes 80 to 90% of beginners to quit before they even start. Wabi-sabi, on the other hand, teaches us to embrace flawed, imperfect action. A little imperfection isn't a bad thing at all. In fact, allowing yourself to be imperfect is exactly what frees you up to chase actual, tangible excellence.
Section 4. The power of small steps, the iteration. Now that we've shed that heavy paralysis of perfectionism, how do we actively move forward and improve? Well, this is the world-renowned principle of Kaizen. It's the practice of continuous, daily improvement through tiny, almost imperceptible adjustments. We're not talking about massive, overnight overhauls here. It's simply about looking at your daily process and asking yourself, how can I make this just a tiny bit better today?
Let's look at a historical example that literally changed manufacturing forever. Back in the 1950s, a worker on the Toyota assembly line noticed a really minor inefficiency. It was a mere 4-second delay when fitting a car door. Just 4 seconds. Most people would completely ignore it. But instead of ignoring it, he reported it for a faster design. When that tiny 4-second fix was implemented and then multiplied by the millions of cars Toyota produced, it saved the company thousands of hours and millions of dollars.
So the absolutely crucial point here is the massive compound effect of these small actions. If a simple 4-second fix saves millions, imagine what a small daily habit can do for you. Did you know that over 70% of people stop reading books entirely after college? It totally stunts their growth. But if you practice Kaizen by reading just 1 or 2 pages a day, you literally guarantee yourself a 1% daily mindset growth. It might seem super small in the moment, but let me tell you, it compounds into a completely transformed life over time.
Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, Declutter to find yourself the clarity.
To actually implement this unbreakable mindset, you first need the mental space to do so. You need real clarity, and that is where Danshari comes in. It's all about letting go of what you do not absolutely need so you can discover who you really are. The author Hideko Yamashita, who popularized this concept, once helped a woman living in a tiny Tokyo apartment. This woman felt entirely suffocated, powerless, and totally lost in life. The culprit? She was hoarding over 3,000 books in her small living space. Hideko told her to start removing them and to only keep the ones that truly touched her soul. And as the woman cleared out that physical clutter, her mind actually quieted. She ended up quitting her toxic job and returning to her art. It's like she didn't just clean a room, she completely cleaned her identity.
It's exactly as the author Fumio Sasaki famously titled his book, Goodbye Things. The fewer unnecessary things you cling to, whether that's literal physical junk in your room, toxic relationships, or just useless digital distractions, the more clarity and peace you invite into your life. Decluttering your physical environment directly declutters your mind. It's a real game changer.
So let's take a breath and look at the complete system we've explored in today's explainer. We have Shugyo to build discipline through discomfort, Ikigai to find your deeply rooted purpose, Kodawari to relentlessly pursue excellence in the details, Shikata Ganai to radically accept what you cannot control, Wabi Sabi to find the beauty in imperfect action, Kaizen to commit to tiny daily improvements, and finally, Danshari to clear the clutter and find your true self. Right there, that is the ultimate blueprint for an unbreakable mindset.
But hey, knowing is only half the battle, right? If you try to do all of this tomorrow, you'll fall into the trap of doing way too much, and you'll end up doing nothing at all. So, I have a challenge for you right now. Look at this list. Which one single principle will you commit to applying to your life for the next 7 days? Just pick one. Start building your unbreakable mindset today. Because the truth is, the world is going to keep throwing earthquakes at you. The only question is, what kind of foundation have you built to withstand them?